video. If you are new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We are gonna talk today about something that I used to hate and now I love, and that is budgeting. I am going to be completely honest, Greg and I have not always been the greatest with our finances, to say the least. We have definitely learned from mistakes and it's taken us a long time to figure out a budget plan that actually works for us. And so now that I finally found one, I'm really excited to share it with you guys. So let's get going. Okay, so what I'm about to say is nothing new. It's nothing I came up with. It's nothing crazy or different. It's out there. You can find it everywhere, anywhere you look. But what is that noise? It took me a while to get in the swing of things, so I thought I would show you how we make this work. So what works for Greg and I is the cash envelope system. Before I go any farther, I did want to say there is electronic ways you can do the cash envelope system. For me, that never worked. Unless I had separate banking accounts for each category, I could never keep straight how much money was in each category and remembering to take the money out, and it was too complicated. For me, I have to use physical cash to make it work. But if you want to use an app, You Need a Budget is a great one, and I think it's free unless you want certain features. So you can go check that out. Again, I don't really know because I do physical cash. So before I get paid every month, I sit down and I write out my bills, what I have to pay for that month. And how we do our bills is because I get paid every other week, I've separated our bills into the beginning of the month bills and end of the month bills. So anything before the 15th of the month, I pay with my first paycheck of the month, and anything after the 15th of that month, I pay with the second paycheck of the month. So for today, I'm doing my end of the month bills. If you're a new viewer, you might not know our history, and that is we went without income for 6 months. And I did finally get a full-time job, and I'm so grateful for it, but I don't make a ton of money. And normally Greg and I would both work, but he is in school, and with balancing our 4 kids and school basically being his job, we realized he couldn't be working. So we had to learn to live off of one income, which makes us super poor. The beginning of the month bills are larger because we pay our mortgage at the beginning of the month compared to the end of the month where we don't really have any large bills. So at the beginning of the month, after we pay our bills, we usually have around $450 to $500 left over to put into the envelope system. At the end of the month, because we don't have that big mortgage payment and our bills are smaller, we usually have more like $700 to put into those different categories of our cash envelope system. So like I said, after I write down our bills, I add it up and I subtract it from my paycheck to see again what I'm working with, which is that $500 or $700. Then I had to come up with envelope categories. And this has changed so much as I've done the cash envelope system. When I first started it, I had very broad categories, and I started to realize, number one, I need more specific categories, but also number two, I needed more categories, which is good and bad because obviously the more categories I have, the less money that can go into each. But you would be surprised how fast it adds up. So my categories really fast are grocery, gas, toiletries, cushion. Cushion is anything that doesn't fit into any other category. Clothing, Christmas presents, birthday presents, vacation, car, home, Easter, Halloween, holiday. Holiday is if we want to do a holiday themed activity, or if I want to buy the kids 4th of July shirts, anything like that. Haircuts, Disneyland, because we always gotta be saving for the Disneyland, even when we're super poor. Savings, new phones. We are on a pay-as-you-go phone plan, which has saved us a ton of money, but because of that, you have to buy your phones outright. And so we have to constantly be saving for new phones in case our phones break. YouTube, which usually is like my category, I either don't put anything in or I put a little bit of money in just because it's not a necessity. Family fun, that's eating out, bowling, swimming, anything like that. Presents is presents for people outside of our family. So I have a fund for birthday and Christmas presents for our specific, me, Greg, and the kids. And then presents is for like if my kids go to a birthday party, grandparents, anything like that. extracurriculars, that's something Greg and I have talked about, and we actually sacrifice a lot for our kids to be able to do extracurriculars. Again, when Greg was working full-time, we had more money. His job made more than I do. And then once we lost that, we talked a lot about if we should pull our kids out of their extracurricular activities. But to me, those activities are so important. And because we are living so poor, we don't get to do a lot of things. And so I felt like sacrificing for my kids to do extracurriculars was worth it. My last category is really new, and it's Livia's ears. She really wants to get her ears pierced, but it's actually really expensive to get your ears pierced, which I didn't realize. So I made a category for it because we're gonna need to save up. After I list out my categories, I take that money we have left over from bills, which is either that $500 or $700, and I divide it into those categories. Certain categories always get the same amount. At the beginning of the year, I calculated how many paychecks I had until Christmas and figured out how much money I would need to put in each paycheck to have enough money for Christmas presents for our family. So Christmas always gets $35 every paycheck. Birthday always gets $20 for the same reason. I budgeted how much I want to spend on each kid and Greg and I for our birthdays, and then calculated out my paydays and what I would need to do to have that money in the end. Toiletries always gets $50. Toiletries is makeup, diapers, wipes, toilet paper, paper towels, anything like that. Cushion is a category that I need to start figuring out how to put more money in. I've been putting in $60, but again, you don't realize how many random items you have to buy that don't fit into other categories. So that probably needs to be bigger, but it's already one of my bigger categories at $60, and so it's a tug and pull. Gas, I usually do about $50, and we usually don't use it all, and so we'll carry on into the next pay period. Gas is the only money I leave in our account besides the money to pay our bills. And so I have to leave a bit of a cushion there because I don't want to overdraft our account if we don't have the cash on us and I have to use the debit card or whatever it is. Oh, and Halloween! We are big Halloween fans. So we put, I think it's $15 every month into Halloween, and I do $10 in Easter. So those are the ones that, again, are very, this is always what it is. The other ones, it depends on the time, what I feel like we're gonna need. Sometimes I put more money in gas if we're gonna go somewhere, you know, things like that. Okay, then I go to the bank and I actually get the physical cash. And then it comes the fun part. I love coming home with my stack of cash and putting it away in the envelopes and watching the envelopes grow. This isn't a necessity, but I actually keep a spreadsheet on Google Sheets of each category and the money that goes in. So once a month I go in and write how much money I have in each category. Not only is it nice to keep track, but there's been times where I've accidentally combined two categories, and it's been nice to go back and at least have somewhat of an idea of how the money's supposed to be actually divided between those categories. So like I said, then I get to fill my envelopes and I put the money in. I used to keep all of the money on me in this little file folder, but I lost it once and it literally had over $1,000 in it, and I decided I couldn't carry around the cash anymore. So the only cash I always keep on me is like grocery, toiletries, and cushion. And sometimes clothing if I know we need to pick up shoes this pay period or the kids need new school clothes or whatever it is. So the other envelopes, I made them, they're each own envelope. I didn't make them anything pretty, I just wrote on it with a black marker, and I get to stuff them with the cash. So once that's all done, I'm set until next pay period. And so once the money from that category is gone, it's gone. And that is probably the hardest part, is learning not to just steal from another category. It's learning I have to wait until next pay period. So that is how we budget, you guys. It's not a perfect system. It's a learning process, and it's really hard, especially again where we are so poor. The growth in the envelopes isn't as fast as I want, but it definitely is getting there. And it's nice that we don't live paycheck to paycheck anymore. Because I save money for Christmas or car or emergency or whatever it is, we don't spend every single, you know, dime we make. We have money in between, and that feels amazing. I mean, if some terrible accident happened and I had to drain all of my money from my funds, that would suck, but we would have it. So that is how we budget living below the government poverty line. If you found this video helpful, give me a thumbs up. If you have any further questions about how we budget or how we make things work, leave them down below. I would love to answer any questions you have, and I hope this video was helpful. It's a little hard to talk about budgeting, but seriously, you guys, it's the worst feeling in the world is like using your debit card and praying there's actually money on it. And Greg and I used to be that way. We didn't track our expenses, and like I would forget to check, and I'd be like, oh my gosh, I don't even know if we have any money on this card. And it actually was so much more stressful. Like, that's why I didn't realize. I thought by not looking at my money and not tracking it, it was less stressful. And what I wasn't realizing is it was causing me more stress, because I was always afraid, you know, do we have enough money? What if this happens? What about Christmas? And then we were going into debt and trying to balance it all out, and it was terrible. So this is actually, even though it sucks sometimes being like, we have literally $10 until next pay period, or we have, you know, $20 we can't go out to eat. That sucks. But again, it's just so worth it for that peace of mind to at least know how much money I have, where it is, what it's going to, and it just is so freeing. Like, I thought budgeting would be restrictive, but it's actually freeing and it's peaceful. It's, again, it's just so nice to know how much money you have. So yeah, that's how we budget. If you guys enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye guys.